Tell us about how you got here and how things got going, Phil.
Oh boy. Well, I think we moved down here in 47. No, 49, excuse me. From Michigan, Battle Creek. And we moved first into Madeira Beach, where my father had a home. And we stayed there, and then we rented a place there for, a good year, I guess, or so. Well, before we got the island started. And I just enjoyed it for a while. And Joe Klingle has lived here for quite a while, I guess. I don't remember, but he was from Philadelphia, and he was fooling around with real estate, and he came by one day and said, "I understand you're into real estate." And I said, "Yeah, I've been there all my life." And so Joe said, "Well, I got an idea," and he said, "I can't find anybody that thinks it's worthwhile." So basically, based on that, we went down. George Young, I don't know if you remember
Surveyor.
George.
Yeah.
He was an outstanding civil engineer. Had at one time for somebody drawn out the Paradise Island, the area that is 100 acres of mangrove, and so we went and visited him, and it sounded very interesting to me. And the only thing is that Joe didn't have any money and I didn't have any money. So we thought we'd pursue it, and through devious ways and means, we managed to borrow some here and there and dig up the down payment. The estate wanted $100,000 for the 100 acres. And so it took 10% down, which is $10,000. So Joe and I dragged that together and put the down payment. Then we couldn't figure out what the hell we were going to do next. And so we figured we needed a dredge. And all we had to trade was underwater lots. And the cash was extremely limited. And so we found a fellow in Clearwater that had a dredge. And he was finished with his project up there, wanted to sell it. So we made a deal with him to trade him, I forget how many lots, probably 10. And we got the dredge. So then we scraped together enough much money to hire the crew and etc. And set to work. That's about the start of it.
How long did that dredging take?
How long?
Yes.
Since then?
Yeah. No, you know.
When we started on,
Yeah, from when they started to finish.
Oh Lord.
Wow.
Joe and I parted ways in, I think, 53. I'm not sure about that time. And then he went on and finished it. I don't know how long, Joe, it had to be a good 10 years, it had to, more than 10, 15, 20 maybe.
So actually the dredge would start and do so many and then stop for a while, while you
Yes,
sold some
yes.
off and then you
That-
call back.
Basically, that's the way it was,
Yeah,
yes.
so it
Yeah,
wasn't,
that's right, because I remember Dolphin Drive was the first part.
Yeah,
And then a bunch of houses were built out
Yeah.
there.
yeah,
And then it was almost like the next phase went out where Ellsworth lived,
Mhm.
out on that section. And then the houses were built out there, and then it went on from there. Because I remember one of the favorite things I loved to do with my girlfriend is as the houses were going up, we always go over there and check them out. Check out the construction. Where's the kitchen, you know? Where's the bath?
Sure.
It was great. I guess that's why I love residential construction, because that's what we used to do, is just watch all these homes going up, you know? It was just
That's neat.
fascinating, yeah.
and we used to play in them.
yeah, we did it in increments like that, and why Joe and I parted was because we'd sort of come to the end of the market. I mean, we could pump up faster than they could with the market at that time. And in the early 50s was not a heyday for real estate in
Right,
Florida.
slump there.
I flew all over the country, Chicago, New York, Detroit, trying to raise money. And they all remembered the 20s.
Scared.
And their companies just didn't want to invest in Florida, period. So Joe and I had sort of reached a point where it could support us, but barely. And so I sold out to him, and I took the dredge. That was part of the deal. And I had I built the shopping center down here,
Yeah.
across from your dad's.
Right, yeah.
And Herbie and I were good friends.
Oh,
Well, I built across from City Hall, the newspaper building there.
Treasure Island, yeah.
Yeah.
Or the Times building,
Yeah.
yeah.
Scoop Jones, Frank Jones, owned it. And so I built that for him. And I built my two-story building there. I built another office building down at the corner. I forget what the junction is down there, just the next block down on the causeway on the right-hand side.
St. James.
There's a two-story
Two-story.
office building there.
Uh-huh.
But that was about it.
Well, Scoop owned he had the Gulf Beach Journal at one time, didn't he?
Scoop?
Frank Jones,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, he owned it. Yeah.
I think my
Yeah,
brother Richard,
he was kind of, he and your dad and I,
Three Musketeers.
we got more trouble than our wives appreciated, I'll tell you.
What kind of trouble did you get into?
Fishing,
You can tell us
Fishing
now.
fishing,
Fishing, okay.
yeah, yeah.
Our school bus would go down there, because I was going to St. John's in grade school, and I remember going down to Sunset Beach, and if we had a lot of rain, when the bus would go down there, of course, the water would be up over the first step in the bus. And
Really?
the poor kids that lived down there, I felt so bad for them.
Yeah.
I mean, they had to almost swim home because there was so low out there.
Wow.
Yeah, the bus door would open up and there'd be water right there level with the steps. Yeah, that was so fun.
Tell us some more of your recollections of growing up here
Oh,
while your
my.
dad was working and all,
Yeah.
developing and whatnot.
Well, went
You
to
went
St.
to
John's, and well, Dad was instrumental with getting to the school, St. John's grade
Oh,
school, and the
okay.
church going
Really?
down there. Yeah,
When we
we
first,
started in a tent.
yeah, St. John's.
Then there was an old wooden church, and it was a church on Sunday and a school during the week, one room school. And then they built the school where the school is now. And, yeah,
Yeah, we built that small church, and
Yeah,
then
that
the
little
big
wooden-
one was built later.
the big one was built later.
Yeah.
That's before the cathedral now.
Right, yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
our company at Paradise Island, we established a foundation and donated a couple $1,000 for the altar.
Yeah,
And
for the church.
that was basically, it was
a
just
lot,
getting
a lot
off.
of money back then when
Oh,
nobody had
a lot of
any
money.
You're not kidding.
Yeah,
But you know, it must have been a good week.
yeah, that was a big thing. And they had, well, that was when Father Trainer came in, and
Mhm.
back then, you know, that was when everybody visit the
Right.
homes, you know.
Right.
Even the nuns came over, you know.
Really, yeah?
Oh yeah, the nuns came. I think it was in 8th grade, we had like a party. It was graduation, 8th grade. Anyway, my whole class was over at the house, and Dad was cooking hamburgers and hot dogs, and 3 sisters were over, and Father Trainer, and everybody was out on the porch having cocktails, and we were playing games in the backyard and swimming. It was great.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah,
We call that
back
like an
then.
island
It
communion
was
or
a small
something.
community.
Yeah, and it was.
Very
And
close,
Paradise
yeah.
Island, you know, you just got to know the kids as they started moving on to the island in the new homes, and everybody went to the same school, so we had the same bus stop and all that jazz, you know. And getting in a boat in the summertime when school is out and going out to Fort DeSoto by boat because there were no roads
I
out there.
remember that.
Had picnics out there with
They had like a
family
museum
picnics.
out there. Then they have like a little fish museum or.
I don't recall that.
I do, yeah. They
There
had-
may have
they
been,
had a lot
but I
of
don't remember.
stuffed fish in this
Yeah.
little museum out there, and snack bar or something like
Remember
that.
we'd go out there on the picnics?
Oh, yeah,
And
sure.
the only way out there was by boat.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
a great place to live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had good growing up.
Civitan? Was it the Civitan?
No,
you
I
were
was first president of the Chamber of
the Chamber
Commerce.
of Commerce.
Right.
He was the
Yeah.
first president.
Treasure Island Chamber.
Treasure
of Commerce.
Island,
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we started that. There was a lot of things going on, and kept busy, tried to keep busy. It was a close community because Ralph
Milligan.
Milligan
Yeah.
was mayor all the time I was here. And then the bank vice president down there, Earl, I can't remember the name right off my hand. Anyhow, about twice a month, we'd get together and play poker. And Ralph lived right next door to me.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were good friends. But your dad was up in my office one time, and we were sitting talking about the upcoming election, you know. And he says, "You gotta run for election." I said, "Oh, no, not me." I said, "You run." "Oh, no, not me, no." We went back and forth this way, you know. And we both decided Ralph had to have an opponent.
Right.
And so we flipped a coin,
How about that?
and I lost. So I ran for mayor. And the basic of my platform was I wanted to free the bridge.
Well, that was big.
From the toll,
Yeah, because you know that toll was tough from my standpoint
Right,
on
right.
the development. And I had gone to Tallahassee and worked out a deal with them that they could reroute one of the state highways across the bridge and therefore take the toll off. And so I thought that ought to sell. Well, it went pretty far, but there were too many local bondholders on that bridge. Because the bridge, as I recall, was built just before the war, in '39 or something like that. And a lot of them picked up the bonds, and so the local bondholders didn't want to see that come off. And truly, it was a blessing for the city here because it kept the taxes down. It was their largest source of income.
Yeah.
But I still thought that freeing it would be the best thing for the city. And I lost by,
A few votes too.
Half
I
a
mean, it was
dozen
like
votes.
100.
You were just ahead of your time, Phil.
yeah,
Just ahead of your
we
time.
came over the bridge just now and it's beautiful.
Yeah, that new bridge is gorgeous. It really is stunning. Yeah, I'm
Beautiful.
really proud of it, really.
Yeah.
Proud to say.
Quite
Proud to say.
an undertaking that was, for sure.
Yeah.
Out here, and where did you guys go for lunch and business lunches and
Well,
things like that? And how did you
Of course,
get going?
back then, Bob, there weren't a lot of places. The Edward James, I'm trying to think of, there weren't many bars.
Does Gene's
and restaurants.
Spaghetti Palace remind you of anything where the
No.
Chinese restaurant it was there for years?
No.
Gene Condon.
Oh. That's, the name's familiar.
Gene Condon was the operator there, and Brad told the story that when you guys would go to lunch there, and somebody'd order a roast beef sandwich, that the chef would run out the back door, go over to the Ohio market, and get a quarter-pound of roast beef, run back in and make the sandwich.
About right.
That's right, because the Ohio market was right there.
Right.
It was a great meat
Yeah.
market. I remember that one.
So,
But,
Y'all went
it's,
to the Belmar. I know that.
Well, once it was built.
Yeah.
how did that get to be built? You said.
Well, I had my office building there and,
on the causeway?
on the
Yeah,
causeway,
right, yeah.
and the upper story was offices.
Right.
And there wasn't a huge demand for offices at that time
This is in the Cobb building at the plaza, right?
at the
Mhm.
Cobb
Plaza
Building
area.
Plaza, right? And so I had a lot of available space. And gee, I can't remember his name, the owner of the building.
Russ Baltz.
Russ Baltz?
Baltz,
Yeah.
yeah.
You would have the biggest office in Treasure Island then if you had
Oh,
all.
I did. I did.
You were a big shot.
Oh, yeah, well, easy to make friends that way.
Yeah.
Golly,
Russ,
Wow.
Russ Baltz.
gee, I knew him well. I can't imagine I couldn't remember.
Mhm.
Anyhow,
Happens to me all the time.
he came by to check on something, and we got talking, and he was telling me that he had bought the property and was going to build a motel there. And one thing led to another, and he said he was looking for space for his architect. And I said, well, I've got plenty of it here, you know, come on in, it's on me. You can have the use of it. So they spent months there and designed it and eventually built it. And we had a great time opening it and so forth. And it became a nice hangout, yeah. They had a nice bar there, they had good food, service was good, and a gorgeous location. So, yeah, that's how that got wheeling there. And then, of course, the Thunderbird was already there. But that, as I recall, that didn't have a dining area.
No, not much dining.
No.
That little coffee shop there. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, there wasn't much there. But the Vilmar lent itself pretty well to that. And then as that grew, I, of course, across the street grew.
Right.
And those shopping areas were very successful, really, quite amazing. Yeah, there's a clothing store there, men's clothing, excellent clothes, whew. And Yeah, it's,
Good
That-
times.
I think there was a little bar, well, was it I'm trying to think if it was an Italian.
or,
It was a small, narrow bar in that building across the street from the Belmar that I know sometimes, when I
Oh.
couldn't find you, you and Uncle Don were in there.
The VIP, where the VIP
Well,
was?
yeah, the VIP, no, I don't think it was on facing Gulf Boulevard, I think it's on the causeway.
on the causeway.
On the main causeway
Yeah,
drag.
that little bar, I don't know that it had a name.
Yeah,
Yeah, they had, good sandwiches and,
yeah,
it was, and then of course, across the street, you know, the restaurant on the corner there, used to be a steakhouse. Originally it was a steakhouse.
Uh-huh.
Wow.
I remember one time, I can't think of his name either, Gene something or other. Anyhow, we had a hurricane coming through, and it closed the town down, of course. And so he had all these steaks in his freezer. So,
Eugene Mueller pops into my mind.
yes, could be.
Mueller.
Yes.
Mueller.
Yes.
M-U-E-L-L.
Yes.
He's German or Swiss or something.
And so I invited him down to stay at our house, and providing he bring the steaks.
Good idea.
So I had a good grill, outdoor grill, and if my electricity went off, well, we had that out there, and so we ate steaks during the hurricane off of him.
Used to fish and
Oh,
yeah,
And,
on the seawalls. In the summertime, one of the ways I raised money, my brother and I would get crabs, go from one dock to another all along the seawalls.
stone crab, blue crab,
Stone
whatever.
crabs and blue crabs. The stone crabs were 25 cents and the blue crabs were 5 cents. And we'd catch the crabs in a net and we'd sell them. And then Jerry, he even got brave enough to, he'll scrape the barnacles off the pilings under the docks. I remember my brother doing that and earn some money. But oh gosh, we fished all the time. And back then, that was grouper was a trash fish.
Really, yeah?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
In fact, it was so funny because we were talking about this last night. I was having dinner up at Coretta's up on Clearwater Beach when we ordered grouper, and I swear it just melted in your mouth. And we were reminiscing. He said, "God, you remember back in the 50s? If you caught grouper, it was trash fish, and
It
you just
really was.
threw it in the deep freeze and threw it in the deep freeze, and it was like 59 cents a pound, and it was so cheap." Different
Well, everybody's
now.
eating pompano back then or something, I guess. I don't know
God.
what the premier
Really,
fish was back then.
really,
Red
I don't know
snapper maybe
either,
or
but
something.
yeah, fishing all the time and filling up the deep freeze
Yeah.
with our fish.
Oh, yeah.
And the fish that we couldn't eat, we would bury underneath the palm trees because it was great fertilizer for the
That's
palm
right.
trees. I remember you started me on that
yeah,
one.
yeah, everybody.
What event or anything that sticks in your mind about a happening?
Oh, the Sportorama, Dad. When,
Oh, Lord,
gosh,
yeah.
talk about that.
Over here on Isle of Capri?
Yeah.
Yeah, Sportsorama. Well, I got together with Lord knows who, and we raised some money. And at that time, Capri was just pumped in,
Yeah.
flat.
Right.
There wasn't a building out there. And so it was a perfect spot. I mean, you couldn't find any place on the beach like it. And we decided to have a sports show. And we call it Sportsorama. And we'd have everything from fishing boats and motors to an airplane, swimming pool, golf, anything you could name. And I managed to get the Dave Garraway show, was it, Today Show, finagled into committee to come down here. I think they did 2 shows, 2 days, because they got so much equipment to the move, it doesn't pay to move for one. And So they committed to it, and we went full promotion for us down here, you know. And we had a plane, because we had a big strip there, you know. And Evinrude motor manufacturers were there, all the main manufacturers,
Johnson.
Yeah.
all the main boat manufacturers. It was a success. We had a hole-in-one golf thing, and I forget, $100,000 prize. We took out a big insurance policy on that
I'm
one.
gonna say.
And then Garraway came in, well, boy, his manager, I forget his name, a red-headed guy. He and I got into it the night before the show was supposed to start. They were staying down at Doctor's Motel on
Down by the Skyway.
yeah. And he was trying to back out. Anyhow, the show went on, and we had the skiers from Cypress Gardens,
Oh, I forgot about them, that's right.
and we had a trap shoot set up for Dave Garraway and some other notorieties. Well, one of them didn't show up, so I had to step in, and I hadn't shot trap in my life. But I'd done plenty of hunting, and lo and behold, I beat Garraway.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And
Old quail hunter.
yeah. It was funny too, because it was just such an unusual circumstance that such a happenstance, you know. And but we got March weather.
I remember.
We got the worst storm that I've ever seen here in March.
Worst thing.
The
yeah.
wind was horrific. The rain. I mean, the car manufacturers were here, and they had the gal in the swimming pool
Shivered.
posing on the hoods of the cars because here they're in Florida, and they were all wrapped up in fur coats. And they get on the hood of the car, and when the cameraman said, "We're ready," they dropped the coat, laid there like this. They took the picture, they put the coat back on. It was really funny.
We hope you enjoyed the history and the tales of Treasure Island. There's more to come. We have over 57 hours of the tales of Treasure Island. So as soon as we can get them to you, we will. Thanks for watching Tales of Treasure Island.